are back for another day of Read Along with Elaine. We are reading from The Blue Witch, and today we're going to be reading from chapter 7. But before we start reading, we've got to do our shout outs. Now this week, I'm wearing t-shirts from schools that I visited last month, and I was at Jefferson Elementary in Allentown, Pennsylvania. So guys, if you're from Allentown or you're from Jefferson Elementary, I'm giving you a shout out today. And I've got to give another shout out to another young listener. Her name is Sunny, and Sunny lives in Las Vegas, Nevada. So Sunny, I'm thinking about you today. So hello, Miss Elaine is excited that you're listening and watching. So we're going to be picking up with chapter 7 now. The last chapter left off with Hugo at school for the Balfin School for Boys, and the odd thing was he had drawn a picture of the creature he and Abigail ran into in the woods, and Professor Oak saw it, and he said, "Why did you draw a Viking?" So we learned the name of that creature. It's a Viking. We don't know much else about it, but that was good to know. All right, so here we go, chapter 7. Positively Potent Potions was Abigail's favorite class. Shelves crammed with crazily stacked jars, filled with oddities and ingredients for her famous potions, lined Madame Radish's classroom. The musty room smelled like moldering mushrooms. Ooh. There were 19 firstlings enrolled at the Tarkana Witch Academy. During their potions practice, they would each pair up with a partner. Indira always picked Nellie because, well, she was smarter than Glorian. The other girls each had their favorites, best friends that they matched off with, which usually left Abigail odd girl out unless a girl was absent. As Madame Radisher went on about the potent properties of powdered sneedletuss, Abigail's thoughts drifted to her mother. She hadn't thought about her in a long time. Abigail tried to imagine what she looked like. Had she ever come to visit her in the creche? She wondered if they were alike at all. Madame Radisher clapped her hands, snapping Abigail out of her daydream. Now that we've learned how to brew our shriek beetle potion, let's join partners. Abigail groaned. She hadn't been paying attention at all, and her potions journal was blank. She looked around, hoping some girl would take pity on her. Witchlings scurried by, but none of them even glanced at her. She caught Minxie's eye, but Glorian bellowed her name, and the girl shrugged at Abigail and moved on. Abigail sighed. Alone it was. She would probably fail potions and get kicked out in record time. They would send her back to the creche to watch over the baby witchlings. Someone tapped her shoulder. Looks like you need a partner. Indira stood there with a fake smile so big it stretched her cheeks. Well, Abigail would rather fail potions class than work with Indira, but before she could say anything, Madame Radisher cooed with joy. Indira, such a nice little witchling to partner with Abigail. Abigail fumed as Indira beamed. One thing she knew for certain, Indira Tarkana didn't have a nice bone in her body. What are you up to? Abigail whispered as Indira began opening jars on their table. Who, me? You heard, old radish head. I'm just being nice. Indira smiled, but her eyes gleamed with spite. Abigail sighed. She had no choice but to let Indira take the lead on making the potion since she didn't have a clue what to do. First, we need plenty of these, Indira said, picking up a jar with large black beetles crawling around. She shook out several into the cauldron. Next, we need a handful of Shriek's eyes. Grab that jar there. She pointed at a jar full of bulging eyeballs. Abigail grimaced, then unscrewed the jar and dug her fingers into the slippery organs. The stomach did a somersault. Witches weren't supposed to be affected by potion making, but sometimes she wanted to throw up. She quickly dropped them into the cauldron, then wiped her hands on her skirt. "Now, add the Sneevil Tusk powder," Andera said, nodding at a jar of white powder as she continued to stir the potion. Abigail twisted the lid off. "How much should I add?" Andera looked at her innocently. "Weren't you paying attention, Abigail?" Abigail flushed. "Yes, that is, I don't remember." Andera rolled her eyes. "Fine, I'll tell you just this once. Madame Radisha said to dump the whole jar in." Abigail hesitated. Was Sneevil Tusk powder potent? Why couldn't she remember anything? What kind of witch didn't know what Sneevil Tusk powder did? One who didn't pay attention in class. Andera drummed her fingers on the table. "Are you going to do anything, or do I have to do all the work?" Abigail sprinkled some powder in. The potion in the cauldron began to steam. Better not add too much. She started to tip the jar back, but Andera bumped her elbow and the contents emptied into the pot. "Oops!" Andera grinned, taking a long step back. Abigail didn't have time to move. The cauldron let out a high-pitched hissing noise and then blew up in her face, spraying beetle dust and shriek eyes everywhere. The class fell silent as Madame Radisha rushed over. "Abigail Tarkana, what in Odin's name were you thinking? Every witchling knows that Sneevil Tusk powder is too potent to use more than a teaspoon." "I tried to tell her," Andera said innocently, "but she wouldn't listen." Nellie slunk over, adding, "Yeah, I heard her say positively potent potions is a dumb class." Madame Radisha pursed her lips and pointed a trembling finger at the door. "Out of my classroom, and don't come back until you've changed that attitude of yours. I have half a mind to fail you for the semester." Tears stung Abigail's eyes. She hated this school. She hated Andera, and she hated that everyone was staring at her, laughing. But it was just what Andera wanted, to see Abigail burst into tears. She slowly pushed herself back from the table and stood up. Slimy trails of Sneevil gook dripped from her hair. Beetle goo streaked her cheek. Tucking her potions journal into a book bag, she dipped her chin at Madame Radisha, spun on her heel, and walked out of the classroom. Oh, that's the end of chapter 7. What do you guys think? Oh, what a good chapter. We learn a lot of things in this chapter. Well, we learn all about what positively potent potions is about and how they make their potions and stir up all kinds of trouble in their cauldron. Of course, Andera, she's not being very nice, is she? She never is. And she sort of tricks Abigail, who wasn't paying attention. It's always good to pay attention in class, right? She wasn't paying attention, so she doesn't remember what to do, so Andera tricks her and makes her add too much of the Sneevil Tusk powder, so the whole potion goes kaboom and makes a big giant mess. And of course then they tell Madame Radisha that she doesn't even like the class, which is a lie because we know how much Abigail loves the class. So I can't wait to find out what happens in chapter 8. We'll be back tomorrow to read that. So guys, I'm going to say goodbye for now, but we are going to be back tomorrow for another day of Read Along with Elaine. Until then, what can you do? Download the worksheets that I posted for this chapter. Have some fun. There's some fun and there's some exercises that you guys can be doing. And so keep up with the book, stay reading along with us. And in the meantime, get outside if you can, play a little bit. I want you to stay healthy, stay happy, wash your hands. And Elaine will be back tomorrow to read along with you guys again, all right? Elaine out.